Hey everybody, what's up? It's OCD Mikey. I am in a coffee shop right now. I hope the mic is coming through all right. I am another edition of the Mikey Show. I'm going to do a show wrap up here while I'm sitting here. I'm still in Dallas on my way to the airport to head back after the show, and just sort of wanted to go over the show, give you kind of a recap, and just let you know, like, there's a reason why I don't do the videos when I go into the rooms, and I don't sit there and record video because I'm in a different headspace, right? In order for me to be thinking in terms of how do I make good content for my viewers when I go into those rooms, I'm in a different headspace, right? I'm in video creating headspace, which is different than audio critiquing headspace. And so really I'm there to do critique of audio and familiarize myself more with certain companies that I want to get more familiarized with, or listen to new products, listen to new companies, or just sometimes get familiarized with some that I've blown off in the past that I wanted to learn more about. For instance, Air Acoustics, A-Y-R-E, out of out of Colorado. You know, I've known about them. I blew them off a long time ago, just as being like, oh, one of those kind of middle of the road type guys, you know, not the exclusive bespoke hi-fi, but, you know, value hi-fi, I guess. I don't know how to put them into a classification, but I would say, like, kind of like I do with, say, PS Audio or something like that, but Air, however they say it. I think they say Air. I'd like to call it IRA. If I was going to see that name, I'd call it IRA. Really super cool brand. I found out a lot about the history of these guys, and I would say, man, if I was in that zone where I was buying things like PS Audio level or IRA level, I would buy IRA. I'm calling it IRA. I don't give a shit. I'm calling it IRA, even if they call it Air. Just because I found out more about the company. I found out more about the designers, who they are, just more about the design, more about the vibe. Remember how I told you guys that a lot of when I go to these shows, I'm sensing out the vibe of the brand, okay? Because my job now when I go to the shows is to weed through the BS and find the good brands for you guys to bring home, bring to you guys, in other words, when I say that. And so I spend time learning about these brands because there's so many brands, and some of them, a lot of them appear to be really great. Some of them are really great. And then some of them are great, but there's different intent behind these brands. Some of the brands, the intent is let's make money. Some of the brands, the intent is let's provide an incredible musical experience. Let's really give people back what they're after. I had some great eye-opening moments at this show, learning about a couple brands, one in particular, super promising looking brand, but questionable about, you know, whose hands it's in terms of distribution and all that kind of stuff. Well, I find out from a guy that is purported to be, and this is again hearsay, I talked to somebody that said I was the distributor and I sold the distribution rights to the guy who has it now. And so, I mean, talk about, and I said, wow, well, why did you sell it to that guy? And he was like, well, because the money was good, you know? And so I'm thinking to myself, wow, so this guy couldn't give two craps about who has it in their hands. He's just, hey, money is money, business is business. And that's what I said to him. I said, oh, so money's money, huh? And he said, yep, money's money. He was just about selling the rights to somebody else who was trying to buy into something and get the rights to squeeze a brand out in the high-end audio world. And you ask yourself, well, first of all, why does somebody have to buy the rights to a brand? Why couldn't he earn the rights to a brand? This guy's got to buy in and buy the rights. Nobody gave him that. He didn't earn it. He just bought it. which goes to show some of these brands are like redheaded stepchildren. They're just handed off. They're just sold to the next guy for distribution. Nobody cares about them. Nobody has any heart behind them. Nobody's trying to love them. They're just trying to sell them, turn them, flip them, for lack of a better term, the W word, them out, right? And you find other brands where there's a ton of heart. So even when you hear something that sounds great, it's like, I want to bring you guys something that has heart behind it and has passion behind it, not just something that's getting handed off and sold rights. It doesn't have any love behind it. It's like an orphan, that's sold. Then you find something like, say, Avant-Garde, for instance, from Angela Lisi. Tons of heart, tons of passion, tons of love. Would never sell the rights for distribution in a million years, because she cares about the brand and she cares what happens to it. There's love behind it, and passion, and it's not just tossed around like a hot potato. So, I'm looking at other things just like, then what do things sound like when I go into, a lot of people go, I had a client that I went to his place and tuned his room. You'll see some pics. And he was like, well, what do I do? What do I go into this room? I just want to make my stuff sound good. I don't really care about all these other rooms and what is going on in their rooms, and if they sound good or if they can make it sound good in a hotel room. I want to make my stuff sound good. How do I do that? And I said, well, and he said, well, he asked me, what do you get out of the shows? And I kind of described to him what I got out of the shows. And what I get out of the shows is I go and I check brands out, man. I'm fully running them through my gauntlet. They have a checklist. They've got to meet all these standards, more than just sound, and then there's the business guys that come in and think it's just if I make something big and pretty, and that it'll sell, and that's not true. We watch the brands and we choose the ones that have the good people behind them, and the ones that have the passion and the love behind them, not the ones that are just handed off like homeless children, So that's a little insight into like what I do at the shows. The sound, sonically, there's a lot of great sound, and a lot of beautiful systems, a lot of great sound, but you have to ask yourself, what connects me? Which one of these rooms do I feel like I'm connecting to the music? Guys come in and they just want to buy a really expensive thing, right? They buy a $750,000 Focal and name, or something like that. And they just come in off the street to a dealer and they just have dough and they just buy something big and expensive. So they get exclusivity because it is unattainable for most people. It's too expensive for most people. But then you have the guys that are more in the realist camp. Like, doesn't mean they can't afford that expensive stuff. They just would rather hire out commission builds of custom gear that nobody else can get, no matter how much they pay, because they're one-offs. They've specified what they want in it. Like, we went to his house and he's got custom monoblock crossover, tube crossovers. There's only one in existence. The guy who made them is now dead, so nobody else is going to ever own those, and they're one of a kind. Okay, so no matter if you have 10 million for them, you're not going to get them. And that is almost more of a trip for those guys, because they know the people with the indiscriminate, the Bitcoin millionaires or whatever, they can't buy it regardless of their money. In some of those systems that are full sensory overload, okay, because some of the systems, in their pursuit of perfection, they become something that is full tilt sensory overload. It's like your freaking psychoacoustical part of your brain is freaking redlined, right? It's in the red, and you're like, when you're listening, you're just like, you're completely blown away the whole time. That takes effort to be blown away. That is a spike of some brain chemical, I don't know which one, but whatever it is, you're spiked. You're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And you ask yourself, like, how long could I do this? Could I actually enjoy music like this? Or is it better just for that wicked fast demo that just blows your mind, that's super great? I guess it's probably like you get in a race car or something and you go super fast, it's super exciting if you do it in short, small blasts. But the second you start to, if you try driving around all the time like that, it wouldn't be fun. It would suck. You'd get ill after a while. You'd get motion sickness, So with some of these systems are like that. The Borison system, similar to that. So unlimited. We're in a $2 million rig. And, I'm sure people are gushing over the Borison system, but you know what, to me, it's like gushing over a 100-foot yacht. How sensible is, of course you're going to gush over it. It's something that you never see, something that you're never going to have, something you're never going to even be able to realize or conceive of ownership. So it's the same with the with the Borison thing. It's a spectacle. It's like you're just looking at it, tripping out, listening to it, tripping out on how unlimited it is, but it's not something you're ever going to realize. You can't even realize it listening to it. It is fun from a spectacle demo standpoint, but it isn't realism, Then you go across to the other side of the Borison room, and they've got the $22,000 speakers, and and they're all in one, and that sounds phenomenal as well. Now you definitely hear a difference, right? Is there that much spread? The delta, is it worth it? You understand that there's different buyers. There's a different buyer. There is such thing in our industry as the luxury buyer that doesn't really care about much else than just buying something at a luxury level, which is an acquisition, right? It's just another cool thing that's acquired to put with all their other cool shit, right? So between 1 mil and 2 mil, it doesn't make a difference. It's the same thing. Same thing. 1 million, 2 million, same thing to them. But it has a different purpose and it's a different buyer, and those are not really. I think it's a completely different headspace, and it's a different. It's different listening, and it's different purpose for buying. Again, nothing wrong with it. Doesn't make it wrong. The $50,000 audio system that we listened to from Borison was stunning. And Borison and their group, Audio Group Denmark, I like the guys. Peter, a good guy. Lars, great guys. And a strong company. Like, you look at that company and you go, they're going to own. They're basically going after the whole enchilada. So in that regard, something about that, I applaud it on one side, but then I kind of don't like it on another, because it's very, it doesn't leave room for anybody else. They're going over, they want everything. They want to have the whole freaking thing. And to me, there's a certain, it's such a fine line between, like, are they being complete or are they being greedy, or are they just doing their job to 100%? It's hard to tell. So the jury is still out for me. I can't say anything bad about the sound of the products. I just am trying to wrap my head around what they're trying to do in the marketplace and how well they really don't play with others. That's the thing. They want to own the whole thing, and they're not going to play with others because they have every part of the picture. The cables, the accessories, the racks, from a $5,500 monitor all the way up to a $2 million system, all inclusive. They everything's soup to nuts. So they're not playing with anybody else, and they're trying to take the whole space. So to me, it's there's something that doesn't really groove with me on that. Even though I can appreciate, hey, they're doing a complete job, smart business. So that's how I feel about the Borison thing. What else was there that I can comment on? Sound Labs. Okay, so we went into the Sound Labs room. Sound Labs is a electrostatic speaker, and they've been around a long time. They're made in Utah, and their Japanese counterpart was here. He's the Japanese rep, who's basically kind of like heading up representation for the brand into our marketplace, because it's a legacy brand, right? And his name is Chris Stubbs, and my guys went to the room and they told me about the guy that was here from Japan. He's a Canadian that moved to Japan, and they didn't say Canadian. They just said the guy from Japan, who's the distributor. and I went up there, and I couldn't believe it. It's Chris Stubbs. It's like, I know this guy. This guy is a dealer that bought my Virastar cables about 10 years ago, and I flew out to Japan, and I spent time with Chris. So I'm in the room, and I'm like looking at him. I'm like, I gotta recognize this guy. I'm like, Chris, and I look at his name tag. I'm like, Christopher Stubbs. I'm like, Chris, holy shit, dude, how are you, man? I haven't seen him in like 10 years. I was in Japan with him last time at his house. I stayed at his house. He took me out. I spent 2 days in Takamatsu learning about udon, the birthplace of udon. We had excellent meals. We saw a Shinto shrine, climbed up the mountain, and it was an amazing time. And I know Chris well, and I'm like, oh man, so good to see you. This brand couldn't be in better hands. So here's somebody that is big heart, big passion, and you know, there couldn't be a better person handling the brand than Chris Stubbs. So, you know, so I get to see that, and I get the whole vibe. I go in, I hang out with Isaac. He's with Ma Recordings. It's Todd from Ma Recordings. Super killer recordings, by the way. I suggest you guys check them out. Chris had his 2 kids, which were really great kids, and man, it's just a good vibration. Okay, so something like the Sound Labs, and then there's David Birmingham's there. This is the complete picture. This is what I look for. I look for representation. Who's representing it? Are they shysters? Are they dishonest? Are they businessmen? Or are they passionate audiophiles that are doing this not for the money, but for the passion of it? Chris is one of those guys. So great experience in the Sound Labs room, and great vibration surrounding the brand and surrounding distribution. Solid. Okay, that was a thumbs up. Saw the Gashellys. You know, they're always fun to see. Alberto, I saw Alberto and his wife, you know, with AGD Productions, Daniela and Alberto. Again, some of the prettiest stuff in the marketplace, some of the most elegant hi-fi and beautiful is those mirror polished AGD. There was Rosa Fiorentino speakers in the room. Infigo Audio, which is a cool brand. It was Steinheim speakers. Speaking with the guys there, you know, and great sound in that room. Infigo has got an interesting designer. Again, he's there, the designer's there with his wife. You know, it's just a good vibration around the brand. What else did we see? Always good to see Val, Okora Acoustics. You know, Val's he's a good person too, good solid guy, man. I would trust Val with my children, you know, which I don't even have. But I'd trust Val with them if I did have them. You know, amazing, huge image from his speakers. You know, and so it's when I go there, it's about seeing the people that I love, and then listening to the gear as well, but trying to put the two together, because in order to make a perfect mix to meet Mikey's approval, I guess, there's got to be the people along with the brand, along with the sound, along with the value. There's got to be 4 things, you know, that are in there. And if they don't have all 4 of those, then I'm not going to bring them to you all and offer them, because this is like a family thing, man. And if I'm going to bring somebody into the family, they have to be vetted. And there are some, you know, people that I would not have at a family gathering in the industry. And so I will not carry that stuff or make you guys aware or whatever. But again, it's just my take on somebody, you know. Maybe I have it wrong, you know, you never know. I could be crazy, which I probably am. But all in all, it was a great show. It was a good time. Voxative, spent some time with Inez. We had dinner with Inez and Christopher, who's a really good guy. There's good heart with that company. Good vibrations. You go see Voxative. Some really killer product. They're at the top of their game with their single driver speakers. Crossoverless design, Songer audio. He also has a field coil. He just makes one speaker, as far as I know. Maybe a couple speakers, but one driver. and currently does not sell his driver, but Voxative does sell the drivers. And so that was a great room. And you know what? It takes time sometimes to go into these rooms. You realize that going from room to room and checking out these systems for 10 minutes or less, you don't have time to acclimate to the temperature, if you will, of that audio in that room. You're not acclimating to the sonic. And sometimes it takes time to acclimate to that. If you go into a room, for instance, that's full tilt boogie, meaning like one that's in the red with all the dynamics and everything, like you're overwhelmed, and then you go into a single driver room right after that, you're going to be frazzed out from the wicked red line, and you're going to need to chill and calm down and before you can slow down to the speed of the, and it doesn't mean it's not fast transition-wise or transient-wise. It just means one is your red line on your senses, the other one is more seductive and slower, and it draws you in to the sonic. So I just remember coming into Voxative and being like, wow, okay, I got to chill for a second. And it took a full song or more before I realized, okay, this is really good. And like I closed my eyes and it was like meditation. Like I was in that spot where you get from meditation, but it took a second to slow down. And I was thinking to myself, man, at Expo, where there's so many rooms, you're bopping in and out, you're not going to have time to chill and acclimate to a certain vibration. They're different parts of the brain, these systems are. So what I'm realizing, it's like one will trigger the limbic portion of the brain, your fight or flight. So things that have wicked fast transient are going to trigger the limbic system. So avant-garde is going to trigger the limbic system. You're going to be in a fight or flight. It's going to trigger you into certain chemicals in your brain from that fast transient. Then you go into something sumptuous like Voxative with a single driver speaker and 211 amps, and single-ended triode, and it is going to be, maybe the hippocampus, right? Or something like that, like a different part, the heart center of the brain, like the more of the emotional part of the brain, and it takes time to switch from one to another. And you have to realize that it's different listening type, it's a different aim with the design of that rig, and it's a different way to listen. And you have to acclimate between the two, or you're gonna miss it. You're going to come from one to the other and go, oh, it's too harsh, too much, man. Or you're going to come to the other and say, oh, it's too slow, it's just rolled off, it's not, because you're too fast. You're not acclimating to that rig. And this time around, because there wasn't a shit ton of people, it was kind of loose with the attendance, we could go in and sit and listen to half sides of albums, and totally acclimate to the rig, totally get into the vibe, and just totally get to really experience that experience. Same thing happened in Audio Note. We got into Audio Note. He gave me the Tool album to cut, so I got to do the honors of opening the album. Thanks again to you guys from Audio Note. Always fun in there. And we listened to Tool, which was great. Fear Inoculum. I can't remember the name of the song, but it was the first one on the album. And damn, I mean, again, something that took a second, man. And you need to take a second to let your brain waves adjust to what the trip is in there, because it's a different trip. And then when you do, you realize what it's all about, because you just took the time to get to know what's happening in there. If you just go room to room to room to room, all you're going to be excited by is the things that are like blow, redlined. That's the only thing that's going to get a blip on your radar. If you're going room to room to room, you're not taking time. If you slow down and you want to take time to taste the chocolate, taste the killer ass espresso, which was really good here, by the way. You will get to know the nuance of those systems. Something like Audio Note, people might go in and go, oh, it doesn't seem like any big deal. They look at the small diminutive speakers and they go, oh, it's just one of these things, and then they walk out because it's not freaking 6 foot tall, $2 million speakers. Well, you have to understand, any monkey is going to be surprised by the $2 million 8 foot speakers, right? So, but it takes a true connoisseur to appreciate something like Voxative or Audio Note, you know, or some of these other brands. I mean, there's other ones. Don't think that those are the only. I'm just using them as an example, because those two rooms took me a second to relax and then smell the roses, right? To taste the essence, if you will. So it was a great show. All in all, I had a good time, and I've got some brands that I will be checking out a little bit more to potentially bring to you guys. But I just wanted to take a second and sort of go over some of the interesting things that happened. I was at 3 different rooms. I'll show you guys. One was the avant-garde room from the local a local guy who's got trios, and he actually is the demonstration room for avant-garde. And he had they were active. And then I went to another guy, which is a doctor, client of mine for many years, and he had a tape system extraordinaire. We checked out the DACs. I sold him his last DAC. This one's better. The playback designs. You know, that was very interesting to go there. There was a couple other doctors, local guys. Dave Schlegel was in from New York, another designer, and he had made turntables, beautiful turntables. And so that's the guy that had all the custom stuff, right? The stuff you can't buy. And then I went to Tom's place, which was in an apartment, and he had you walk into his apartment and all it is an audio system. There was no furniture. All it was a damn audio system. I'm like, damn, this is a committed guy right here. He had Wilson Audio, Sasha Dow, and Klaus Odyssey amps. What were they? Kismet Reference, a Jewel Electra preamp, and we put in the in a Lumen, and we put in the MPD-8, and it was better without the preamp in. That was easy to hear. And then today I tuned a rig that had PMC speakers, these giant top of the line PMCs. They were, I don't know, 6 foot tall, 7 foot tall, whatever, with full MSB system, MSB amps, MSB whatever it is, reference, expensive, 3-box DAC, and we put in the playback. Playback was more natural. I did tune his rig for him. We had to adjust things and got it better sounding. You guys spend a lot of dough on your rigs, and you might not know, if you're scratching your head and saying, where's the magic? It's because the setup isn't done right, I would have pulled my hair out if I had to listen to the system the way it was when I first came there. And bam, we got mid-bass, we got something, all these things that were missing before. And it made a big difference. If you know that I'm in your town, let me know and I can come by and tune your rig. It's $500 and well worth it. I guarantee my results. Anyways, so I just wanted to take a little time while I'm sitting here waiting for my flight coming up and let you all know feedback from the show. So thanks for joining. See ya.